What is going on, Nav Nation? PokéNav here, and welcome back to another video. As you guys can see, the scenery today a little bit different than you're accustomed to with most of my videos. Over the course of this week, I'm going to be moving into our new home, so the background, everything that you see in this week's videos are probably going to be a little bit different. I actually kind of like this setup a little bit better to be able to move around, and I'm a very gestured person. I use a lot of body language, and sometimes you can't always do that sitting at a desk. So you guys let me know if you like this particular style of video. So for today's discussion, what I want to talk about is, should you open a Pokemon card store in 2021? With the extreme popularity of Pokemon, I have seen an explosion of both brick and mortar stores as well as online stores opening up over the course of this last year. And just in Arizona alone, I think I can name off the top of my head probably 50 stores, brick and mortar stores that is, that I've seen open up over the course of this year. And I want to discuss today if this is still a viable business model, especially with a lot of the changes that we've witnessed over the course of 2020 and 2021, especially in trying to garner product to actually become a reseller, how difficult that has become, and just talk about if this is still a sustainable business model, both from the LGS standpoint as well as the online dealer standpoint. So first of all, let's just go ahead and talk about the process of becoming a reseller. So for those of you out there that are maybe considering this, you at least have some idea of what it's like to actually resell Pokemon products, because that's essentially what you're doing. You are reselling it. You're buying it from either a distributor or direct from the manufacturer, and you are reselling it back onto the consumer market. So the first thing that you have to do, you say, yep, PokéNav, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to open up an LGS, or I'm ready to be an online third-party dealer. What do I got to do? All right, so the first thing that you got to do, no matter where you're at, is you have to be a reseller. And what you have to do in order to become a reseller is, first of all, you've got to get your business license. Now, this could be as easy as just going and getting set up as a sole proprietor. When I first started, that's exactly what I did. Just went on to the Arizona Department of Revenue website, got set up as a sole proprietor, basically meaning you are doing business as yourself. So as, my name as Shad, I would be doing business as such. So you can just do that. You just go on, get set up as a sole proprietor, or you could go the route of getting set up as an LLC for certain tax benefits, things of that nature. So you go on, you get your business license, and this is ubiquitous, right? You're gonna have to do this no matter what state you're in. There will be variations that will exist depending on the state that your nexus point is in, but those are things you'll just have to figure out for yourself. The things that are standard is that you'll have to get your business license. The next thing that you'll have to do is get your reseller's permit. This allows you to be able to buy products essentially tax-free up front, and then you collect those sales tax later on down the road. In the case of the state of Arizona, on top of that, you're also going to have to get what is known as a TPT license, Transaction Privilege Tax. This basically is the way for the state of Arizona to be able to collect on the sales tax that you are charging to your customers. So that's step one. Step one is you're going to have to get registered as a business. You're going to have to get your reseller's permit in order to become an actual reseller. And again, this is whether you're selling online or you're opening up an LGS. All right, so the next step, let's go ahead and transition here. We'll talk about the brick and mortar stores. So you decide you're gonna go the route of an LGS. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to find some real estate. And if you guys aren't familiar with the real estate market over the course of this last year, it has been absolutely crazy. The prices are super inflated right now, and being able to try to find a place to park your LGS can be very, very difficult, and not only that, but very, very expensive, because they are very few and far between right now. So brick and mortar store, you're gonna need to find a place to house your LGS. And we all know the expenses that are involved in that. Very often in an investment property, you're gonna have to put 20% down on that particular property, or you might have to go and just lease out a particular unit from a landlord out there, which you know, the rents on that are not cheap either. On top of that, you got to have a place to put all of your inventory, right? So you're going to need to acquire all of the necessary equipment, not just in the front room of your store, but also in the back room as well. And the shelving, the display cases, all of these different things that will basically create an environment that your customers want to come into, that is inviting. On top of that, if you want to host tournaments, you're going to need tables, you're going to need chairs, you're going to need some kind of advertising. All of these different expenses are something that you're going to have to consider when you're wanting to open up a brick and mortar LGS. Now, this is something that has always existed, right? This is not new. So for all of you out there that perhaps own an LGS, you're very familiar with these costs and many of the other extraneous costs that go along with starting a venture such as this. Now let's go ahead and move on to the online reseller. Now, the nice thing about being an online reseller is that you don't necessarily have all of those overhead costs that a typical LGS is going to have, right? You could potentially just run this directly out of your home rather than going out, leasing a property or anything like that. That being said though, as you grow, you are going to need more space, and very often you're going to outgrow the space that you're mainly just using in your home, maybe a spare bedroom, something like that. So eventually you're probably going to have to get something else. You're going to have to get some other piece of real estate to manage or to house the inventory, even if you're not actually opening up a brick and mortar LGS. Now, on top of that, the nice thing about being a reseller with Pokemon is that Pokemon does not require you to actually have a physical location. When you compare that to other TCGs out there like Magic, and you're working with Wizards of the Coast, they do require that you actually have a physical location. So in this case, if all you're going to be focusing on is Pokemon and reselling Pokemon, the online realm might be a great option for you, because unlike other TCGs that don't give you that particular route, you can do that with Pokemon. So online reseller, probably, you know, it's definitely easier to start and be able to try to do this out of your home. But if you plan on growing to any type of capacity, you're going to quickly find that you're going to outgrow the space of your home, your garage, wherever you're storing products. You may even just have to get a storage unit to be able to house some of these products. So just another thing to keep in mind for an online reseller. Although it is easier to start it in this capacity, it very often expands very quickly to beyond just the confines of where you initially start. Okay, so you've made your decision now. You said, I've got my reseller permit, I've got my business license, I'm either going to be an LGS or I'm going to be an online reseller. Now what's the next step? The next step is to reach out to distributors. And this is where it gets tricky, and this is where it gets hard. Now, in the past, this wasn't necessarily such a big deal. But over the course of this year, over the course of the last couple years, with the rise of TCGs and the popularity of them, the demand, and all of the fly-by-night operations that have existed, especially over the course of this last year, there is very few distributors out there, reputable distributors, that are actually taking on new clients in their portfolio, essentially. So you can actually go on to the Pokemon Center website, and I'll go ahead and link it up down in the video description below, but you can go onto the Pokemon website and you can find all of the distributors that work directly with Pokemon. This includes big names like Southern Hobby, Alliance, GTS Distribution, which is actually based right here in Phoenix. You can find a list of all of those out there. Now, what I would recommend doing is I would recommend contacting every single one of them. And I've heard many stories from a lot of people out there that even if they've done so, even if they have contacted all of these various distributors, they still are not having any luck in actually being able to find a distributor that is willing to take them on. And a lot of it boils down to this very fact, where there's just been so many people that have applied with these companies that exist for a few weeks, they make some money, and then they drop and they're not getting any orders, any new orders in from any of these distribution companies. So they have really, really limited really created a strong barrier to entry in actually being able to work with them. Now, this is, like I said, the biggest hurdle, because if you don't have any product, you're not generating any revenue. And I have seen this time and time again over this last year, and like I said, over the course of these last couple years, of people who have gotten into this realm, especially the LGSs who have broken in. And we actually work with several smaller LGSs that really rely on us to try to help them to get products in their stores, because if you don't have products in your store, you're not generating any revenue. And if you're just an online reseller and all you're focusing on is Pokemon, because you don't have to have a brick and mortar store, and Pokemon is one of, if not the most heavily allocated TCG out there, and you're only able to get a few products, well, guess what, guys? There's still costs associated for those of you out there. There's going to be the transaction fees, there's going to be the housing if you're housing your website on Shopify, or even if you're trying to sell on places like eBay or TCG Player, there's costs that go along with that, right? So first off, if you're not able to get product, that's a big problem, right? And then on top of that, the margins that you're trying to create for the products that you do have, if those are getting limited and diced off based upon where you're selling, it can create a real conundrum here. And that's really the core of the conversation here today, is being able to understand all of these different facets that go into actually starting a business of this magnitude. Again, whether you are an LGS or whether you're an online reseller, now is honestly a very difficult time to try to start a venture like this. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, right? It's not all doom and gloom here. And that's where I want to get into some of the suggestions and recommendations that I have personally from experiences that I've had over the years going through all of these trials, right? I've been through all of this stuff, and I've also been in contact and have colleagues that have gone through all of these different hurdles as well. So I want to provide you guys with a few recommendations on how you can mitigate some of these risks and try to jump into this space, because it is a great space to be in, and it can be a very lucrative venture as well. But you have to be smart, you have to be able to adapt, and you can't necessarily do things the way that they were done in the past and hope to still succeed. So the first thing that I would suggest is, before you take the plunge into either of these, creating your own website, creating your own LGS, go ahead and try selling on places like eBay, TCG Player, Mercari, all of these different resources out there. See what kind of products you can get. See where you can garner these products, how much of an inventory that you can actually carry, and try selling on these different places. Because to be a reseller, you have to know how to sell. That is just part of the game. So try it out over on some of these platforms. Gain some experience, gain some customer service experience as well, because that is another thing that you definitely have to have in a venture like this, is strong customer service knowledge and being able to appeal to your demographic, right? You want to be able to create a consumer and a customer base that continually comes back to you. So before you make that full plunge, maybe just try your luck out over on places like that. So eBay, TCG Player, Mercari, things like that. And if you're cycling through it and you're able to start building up more inventory, then maybe you can start to make that transition or take that next step into becoming an official, online reseller, having your own website, or going the route, I would say the more riskier route of actually creating an LGS. The other thing that I want to touch on here, a big recommendation, this is mainly for the LGSs out there, or people who are wanting to become an LGS. I've actually had a lot of people in the community that have reached out to me and asked for my advice. They've considered opening an LGS, and they want to know, hey, should I do it? This is what I want to host in my store. All of these different things. Now, there's a lot of better resources out there online that you guys could check out. I would recommend looking at Cardinal Gaming, our boy Mason over there. He's from Louisville, Kentucky. Been able to run a fantastic business through a lot of ephemeral and fleeting markets and a lot of big changes in those markets. So I would suggest checking him out. Also our boy Squeaks as well. For all of you online resellers out there, Squeaks has been able to do a great job in maintaining his business and being able to create something that has long-term success. But for the LGSs, what I would think about doing is don't necessarily, again, sometimes you have to go against the grain, go against the way that things were done in the past. And in this case, I would consider maybe creating an adjunct business along with your card store. So maybe that means along with the card store, maybe you've got enough space to open up a coffee shop as well, right? And that coffee shop may in the beginning create more foot traffic into your store than the actual LGS itself. And then the revenue that you're generating off of that coffee shop, you can then put a portion of that back into your LGS and be able to build that up slowly. So something to consider there. The other thing, if you already own a brick and mortar business, and I see this a lot with different people out in the community, is that they already have a brick and mortar business. And it could be something totally estranged from Pokemon. It could be a car repair shop. It could be a hair salon, all these different things. But what they do is that they create this online environment or even an LGS around their existing business. So they already have success in this particular industry. And then again, they take portions of that revenue to build up the LGS itself. And very often what they'll do is they'll house it in the same building. So maybe they've got an extra unit, they then turn that unit into the card shop and start acquiring inventory with the revenue that they've already generated from their existing business. So that's something to also consider as well. Or again, if you already have a business, maybe you're using a portion of those profits of that revenue to actually build up an online platform. And if you've already got the space, the actual physical space, that's a great way that you can basically utilize that to house your inventory. You're not having to do it directly out of your home. So if you already have your business out there, it's already created, it's already doing well for you, maybe just use this as an adjunct to that, and it could be vice versa, right? You could actually use this endeavor to put more money back into your existing business, or you can do it the other way around. So those are just a few other recommendations that I would have, especially for the LGSs out there. This has been a really, really trying time, and from many levels, right? We've already talked about it, from being able to garner product, to be able to find a distributor. I haven't even mentioned how difficult, even if you're in with a distributor, how difficult it can be in the beginning to actually get a substantial amount of product that you could actually survive on, right? Because very often what'll happen when you connect with a distributor in the beginning, they are going, because you're the new kid on the block, they're going to allocate you a very, very small portion. So let's say that you're wanting to start up, you're wanting to start an online store, and you say, you know what, we got 2 great sets coming out. We've got Evolving Skies and we've got Celebrations. I want to get in on this because I think it's a great time. And you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. It is a great time. But when you're the new kid on the block, if you are lucky enough to actually get in with the distributor, they're going to say, all right, here's what we'll do. For your first order, we're going to give you a case, maybe. And on top of that, you're going to need to buy an additional $15,000 of these other products that we need to move. So those are the risks that are involved when you're starting something like this, right? And working with a distributor. And that is why, for me, I never would have been able to start something like PokéRealm on my own. It was really a serendipitous occasion where, for myself and Rocky already had a long history of working with distributors, of building up his spend, which when I say spend is the amount of money that's actually going out to these different distributors, to these different companies. And this is something that you typically build up over years and years and years. And in the beginning, you are getting a very, very minuscule amount, especially in this day and age where it's already heavily allocated, even for the big guys out there. So that's where, when I approached Rocky, I knew that we could work in tandem with each other, where I had the platform, I had the resources to be able to promote this business, to be able to get it out there to a larger community. And Rocky, on the other hand, is a strong resource for being able to garner products in larger quantities. And you know, if it hadn't have been for the two of us coming together, we probably never would have been able to start something like PokéRealm. And that, to me, is an example of thinking outside of the box, right? Of not just going down the same path that many people before us have done. It's really putting our heads together, putting our resources together, and making something like this even a possibility. So what I want to end on here today, I know we're getting a little bit longer in this video, what I want to end on here today is, all this being said, all the things, you know, the trials, the tribulations, how difficult it is now to try to become either an online seller or potentially an LGS. The thing that I want to touch on here today is a goal that we have for ourselves here at PokéRealm, something that we would like to see come to fruition. And that is, eventually, we talked about creating adjuncts, right? Adjuncts to your business. Something that we would want to create eventually, Rocky and I have both discussed this, is being able to create a kind of a separate membership platform specifically for the startups, specifically for the small LGSs, the small online resellers, because to be honest with you guys, a lot of the big distributors out there, if you're not spending $20,000 a month on products, it's almost not even worth it. You're gonna pay more, you're gonna take on more risk working with them then it's really even worth it, right? So what we want to be able to start is a membership-based program where some of the small resellers, some of the small LGSs can come to us, and maybe they only have a spend of $5,000 a month or $3,000 a month. And basically through that particular membership, they can just get products from us, right? They don't have to maintain a certain spend with us. They don't have to buy a bunch of products that they don't need, that's not benefiting their store, whether physical or online. They don't have to, get charged on, just an upfront fee just to work with them. That membership would be similar to what a lot of you out there are experiencing with the existing PokéRealm, kind of a monthly membership. And with that, we can get you guys the products that you need. And really a lot of that is based upon the experiences that both Rocky and I have had over our tenure, right? Over our career in this industry, and understanding just how difficult it is, and trying to help out a lot of these small businesses to get on their feet, to get going, because we want to see that. We want to see more small businesses out there. We want to see more LGSs. We want to see more people be able to create a side hustle online by taking their passion for these hobbies and be able to create a sustainable business around it. So we want to try to help out in that endeavor, and that's something that we have been discussing, and that eventually in the future we want to do, is to have an adjunct to PokéRealm where with that membership we can help out those smaller businesses, so that you don't have to spend so much on a monthly basis. You don't have to take on inventory that you can't move and that you just have to sit on and basically stay afloat. So it's just another resource to try to help these various segments of the hobby and these various entrepreneurs, right? That's something that I love, is that entrepreneurial spirit, and I know how difficult it can be to actually thrive as an entrepreneur. So this is something that I think would be a great way to just be a little bit of a catalyst for these type of folks. So, well guys, I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of style of video. Hopefully it was a little engaging for you. Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know if you're thinking of starting an LGS soon. Let me know if you're thinking of starting an online reselling business soon. And hit me with your ideas, the things that you are considering to go against the grain, to make your business successful, because overall, the more information that we have, the better off everyone is. So guys, Other than that, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon, one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.